Have you ever wondered why you always pick the same meal at your favorite restaurant even though you've seen a dozen new options? Or why you can't stop thinking about an assignment that's only half finished? What if I told you these decisions aren't entirely your choice? Hidden forces in your brain, called cognitive biases, are often making choices for you, sometimes without you even realizing. Today, we're going to dive deep into how these biases affect your everyday life, especially when you're trying to juggle college and a job. Stick around, and by the end of this video, you'll not only recognize these biases, but you'll also learn how to use them to your advantage in your studies, work, and even personal life. Hey everyone, welcome back to Upgrade Habits, where we're all about helping you become a smarter, more efficient version of yourself. If you're a college student who's also working, you're in the right place. Today, we're going to talk about cognitive biases, those mental shortcuts your brain uses that can sometimes lead you in the wrong direction. But don't worry, I'm going to show you how to flip the script on these biases so they work for you, not against you. Section 1. The Ambiguity Effect, sticking to what feels safe. What it is. Have you ever been to a restaurant with tons of new things on the menu, but still ordered the same dish you've had before? This is the ambiguity effect at work. Your brain doesn't like the idea of picking something uncertain or unknown, so it chooses what's familiar and comfortable. This bias shows up in other parts of life too, like sticking to your usual study methods or routines, even when trying something new might be better. Deep dive. This happens because our brains are wired to avoid uncertainty. Think about it. Unfamiliar situations feel risky, even when they aren't. You might fear that the new dish won't taste good, or that trying a new study technique will waste time. This is a natural way your brain tries to protect you from what it sees as possible failure, even if the risk is low. Practical tip. You can train yourself to break free from the ambiguity effect. Start by testing new things in low-stakes situations. The next time you go out, order something different from the menu. You can also apply this to school by experimenting with different study techniques or routines. The point is to push yourself out of your comfort zone in small steps. The more you do it, the easier it gets. And remember, growth happens when you try new things, not when you stay stuck in what's comfortable. Section 2. The bystander effect. Waiting for someone else to act. What it is. Let's say you're in a group setting, like a classroom or at work, and someone clearly needs help. Maybe a classmate is struggling with a topic or a coworker is swamped with tasks. Instead of stepping in, you might wait because you assume someone else will help them. This is the bystander effect, the idea that the more people there are in a situation, the less likely any one person will take action. Deep dive. The reason this happens is that when we're in a group, the responsibility to act feels diluted. You think, someone else will handle this, or it's not really my place to help. Unfortunately, when everyone thinks like this, no one ends up doing anything. This can happen in work settings, during group projects, or even in social situations. Practical tip. Next time you're in a group and you notice something needs to be done, whether it's helping a classmate or taking initiative at work, be the one to step up. This not only shows leadership, but also makes you stand out in both academic and professional settings. Don't wait for someone else to act. Taking the first step can often lead others to follow your lead. Section 3. The Zeigarnik Effect. Why unfinished tasks linger in your mind. What it is. Have you ever been unable to fully relax because of an unfinished assignment? That's the Zeigarnik Effect. This cognitive bias makes unfinished tasks stick in your brain longer, causing you to stress or think about them more than tasks you've already completed. Deep dive. Your brain likes to close loops. When something remains unfinished, your mind treats it like an unresolved issue. This is why you might struggle to enjoy your downtime if you know there's an incomplete assignment on your desk. Unfinished tasks create mental clutter, which makes it hard to focus on anything else. Practical tip. A great way to deal with this is by breaking large tasks into smaller, manageable parts. When you complete each small part, your brain feels a sense of accomplishment, giving you a mental boost to keep going. For example, instead of seeing a 10-page paper as one big task, break it into smaller steps like research, outline, draft, and edit. This way, each step you complete reduces the stress from unfinished tasks. Plus, you'll feel more motivated as you see progress. Section 4. The Dunning-Kruger Effect. Overconfidence in what we don't know. What it is. Ever notice that sometimes people who know the least about a subject are the most confident about it? That's the Dunning-Kruger Effect. It's the tendency for people with low knowledge in an area to overestimate their ability, while people with more expertise tend to doubt themselves. Deep dive. This bias happens because when you don't know much about something, you don't know what you don't know. In other words, the less you know, the harder it is to recognize how much more there is to learn. On the other hand, experts tend to be aware of their limitations, which can make them more cautious. Practical tip. To avoid falling into the Dunning-Kruger trap, always stay curious and humble. Seek feedback from others, especially those who know more about the topic. This could be a professor, a mentor, or even a coworker. Being open to learning and understanding your limitations will make you grow faster. And remember, it's okay not to have all the answers right away. The key is to keep learning and improving. Section 5. The IKEA Effect. Loving what you build. What it is. Have you ever built something yourself, like a piece of IKEA furniture or even a school project, and felt more attached to it because you made it? That's the IKEA effect in action. We tend to overvalue things we've invested effort in, even if they're not perfect. Deep dive. When you create something, whether it's a physical object, an essay, or a project, you become become more emotionally attached to it. This bias can be a double-edged sword. On the one hand, it's great to take pride in your work. On the other hand, it can make you less open to criticism or improvement because you're so invested in what you've made. Practical tip: be proud of your work, but don't let the IKEA effect blind you to areas of improvement. When working on group projects or assignments, stay open to feedback, even if it's hard to hear. Others might see things you've missed. Taking in constructive criticism will not only improve your work, but also make you more adaptable in future challenges. Section 6. The ostrich effect. Avoiding bad news. What it is: have you ever avoided checking your bank account after a weekend of heavy spending? Or maybe ignored an important email because you feared what it might say? That's the ostrich effect, the tendency to avoid unpleasant information because you don't want to deal with it. Deep dive. This bias occurs because facing bad news feels uncomfortable, and your brain tries to protect you from that discomfort by making you avoid the situation altogether. But here's the thing: avoiding the problem doesn't make it go away. In fact, it usually makes things worse in the long run. Practical tip: the next time you're tempted to stick your head in the sand, challenge yourself to face the situation head-on. Whether it's checking your bank balance, opening a tough email, or reviewing critical feedback, the sooner you confront it, the quicker you can take action and reduce stress. Tackling these things early can help you prevent bigger issues later on. Section 7. The endowment effect. Overvaluing what's ours. What it is: have you ever tried to sell something like an old phone and realized you value it more than others do? That's the endowment effect. We tend to overvalue things simply because we own them. Deep dive. When you own something, you form an emotional attachment to it, which can make it harder to judge its true value objective. This bias can show up in different parts of your life, like when you're deciding what to keep and what to let go of, or when pricing items you want to sell. Practical tip: to combat the endowment effect, try looking at things from an outsider's perspective. Ask yourself, if I didn't already own this, would I still think it's worth this much? This approach can help you make more rational decisions, especially when it comes to selling items or deciding what to keep when decluttering your space. Section 8. The decoy effect. How we get tricked into spending more. What it is: have you ever been shopping and noticed that adding a third, seemingly irrelevant option changes how you view the other two? This is the decoy effect. It's a marketing trick where adding a third option makes one of the original two look like a better deal, even if it wasn't your first choice. Deep dive. Companies use this all the time. Imagine you're choosing between a small and a large popcorn. If they introduce a middle option, suddenly the large seems like a much better deal, even though nothing about it has changed. This effect takes advantage of how your brain compares choices. Practical tip: be aware of this trick when making decisions, especially financial ones. The next time you're presented with multiple options, take a step back and ask yourself if the extra option is really necessary or if it's just there to sway your decision. Being mindful of this can help you make smarter, more deliberate choices. Section 9. The cheerleader effect. Why groups seem more attractive. What it is: have you ever noticed that people seem more attractive when they're in a group rather than alone? This is called the cheerleader effect. It's a cognitive bias where we perceive people as more appealing when they're surrounded by others. Deep dive. The brain tends to blend individual faces in a group, which makes them appear more average. And as studies show, we generally find average faces more attractive. This can influence how we perceive others in social situations, and even how we see ourselves when we're part of a team. Practical tip: in group settings, whether it's a team project at work or a study group, this effect can work in your favor. Collaborating with others can make you feel more confident and socially attractive, boosting your overall presence. Plus, working in a group gives you the added benefit of learning from others, which can help you grow both academically and professionally. Section 10. The spacing effect. Why cramming isn't effective. What it is: if you've ever tried cramming for an exam the night before and struggled to remember the information, you've experienced the spacing effect. This bias shows that we learn and retain information better when it's spread out over time, rather than jammed into one intense session. Deep dive. Your brain needs time to absorb and store information, and cramming doesn't allow for that. When you cram, you might retain information temporarily, but it fades quickly. Spacing out your study sessions helps the brain solidify what you've learned, leading to better long-term retention. Practical tip: instead of pulling all-nighters, plan your study sessions over several days or even weeks. Try studying in short bursts and reviewing material regularly. This method not only improves retention, but also reduces stress because you're not rushing to absorb everything at once. Your future self will thank you when exam time comes. Now that you know how these cognitive biases are influencing your daily life, it's time to use that knowledge to your advantage. By understanding these mental shortcuts, you can make smarter decisions, boost your productivity, and even improve your relationships. If you found this video helpful and want to keep learning how to outsmart your brain and build better habits, hit that subscribe button and join Upgrade Habits. Don't forget to tap the notification bell so you never miss out on our latest tips. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.